Does the Bible talk about immigration?
Yeah, it does. In some ways. So in Exodus 22:21, it says, "You must not exploit a resident alien or oppress him, since you were resident aliens in the land of Egypt." So this is the Lord speaking to Moses to be able to communicate this to the Israelites, that because they had been at one time living in Egypt, that now that they're out of Egypt, that individuals that come and join or come to live in Israel shouldn't be mistreated in the way that the Israelites were mistreated in Egypt.
This feels like a Bible verse for a different episode.
Because we're talking about aliens?
No.
Oh, slavery.
No. Well, that too.
Okay. I'm not coming up with a lot of ones.
And Israel.
Yes, and Israel.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And immigration.
Right.
And Israel.
And Israel.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Okay.
Not today. All right. So in Leviticus 19, 33 through 34, it says that when an alien resides with you in your land, you must not oppress him. You will regard the alien who resides with you as the native born among you. You are to love him as yourself, for you are aliens in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. And I know it's using the word alien there. It means, one that's not an Israelite.
You must allow them to phone home.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Or allow them to be with you and to not be oppressed. How about that?
Okay.
All right. And so actually 36 times in the Old Testament, the scriptures are addressing this issue of how to handle foreigners amongst the Israelites.
Okay.
And this is all about what happens when they come to live in their land. So, but one thing that's important to note is that once they were there in Israel, they were expected to abide by Israel's laws.
Okay.
And so in Numbers 15, 29 through 30, it says, "You are to have the same law for the person who acts in error, whether he is an Israelite or an alien who resides among you. But the person who acts defiantly, whether native or resident alien, blasphemes the Lord, that person is to be cut off from his people. He will certainly be cut off because he has despised the Lord's word and broken his command. His guilt remains on him."
So any illegal alien with the Jews, if they committed any, if they disobeyed any law that the Israelites had, then they should be sent away.
Correct.
And that's the consequence, no exceptions.
Yeah. Well, because the phrasing in there is that the person who acts defiantly by blaspheming the Lord.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's speaking toward that. But if you go back up to the verse before that, you would have the same law for the person who acts in error, whether he is an Israelite or an alien who resides among you. And so in other words, if there's one that is with you that is not, an Israelite, but they're breaking the law, whatever the punishment for that law was, right, then that same punishment is applicable to the foreigner who's with them.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the gist of really what the Old Testament has to say about...
I probably wouldn't have immigrated to Israel back then.
You don't think so?
Pretty oppressive.
You think
system of law.
Even though it tells them not to oppress people?
Well, the law in itself was.
Okay. A little too restrictive for you.
God said, "Let me do the oppressing. You guys sit down."
That's not. I mean, but there are 613 laws.
Yeah, that's too many.
How many laws do you think we have in our country?
1 billion.
Right. I wonder how many laws we have that contradict each other.
1 billion.
That's fair.
I mean, it's true.
Yeah. That's, okay. Yeah, I don't know that number, but okay. Yeah.
Did you know that? I think it's like 8 that everyone in America unknowingly commits 8 law or violates 8 laws a day.
Yeah. Well, there's so many laws.
Or something like that.
There's so many laws that are on the books.
Yeah.
That's been there for, centuries.
There's laws about
decades and decades.
Putting pies in windows, and you can't do that.
I know.
Yeah.
It's. I remember my wife. She was reading all these ridiculous laws for our kids, like as part of homeschool, like that these different states have these just. They're so out of date laws, but they're there. They're still in the books. So you're right. Yeah, we're just walking around. Just
the longer we exist, the more oppressed we are, no matter who's in government. Because they just keep creating laws that contradict each other,
right?
And whoever they want to suppress, they can suppress.
Well,
from one law or another.
Yeah, that's seems to be the way we're headed, my man. Yeah, so
anarchy.
Yeah, so that's pretty much what the Old Testament says about immigration, and there's really not much in regards to the New Testament at all.
Okay.
Yeah.